Welcome, friends. I am Dr. V.K. Chauhan, homeopathic physician, and we are revising here with homeopathic remedy pulsatilla nigricans. Its common name is anemone, as given in Allen's keynote, pulsatilla parenthesis, as given in Herring's guiding symptom, and windflower, as given in Boric materia medica. Kingdom is vegetable kingdom. Natural order is Ranunculaceae family, and remedy was proved by Dr. Honeyman. This is part 2A, general overview in classical format, and the text is being taken up from Allen's keynote, and this is a study which is beneficial to BHMS students and interns. So let us go ahead. But before going to the classical format, why classical format is very important for us, we have to understand this particular fact. And the fact number one is reference from Organon, aphorism 5. It tells us the essentials of case taking when we want to achieve a cure. So, what are those ingredients in case taking are must? They should be kept in mind, and that is given in aphorism 5 of Organon. It tells us useful to the physician in assisting him to cure are the particulars of the most probable exciting cause of the acute disease. So, if you are dealing with the acute disease, you have to unfold the exciting cause. That is most important thing. Number one. Number two, and then it tells us as also the most significant point in whole history of the chronic disease to enable him to discover its fundamental cause, which is generally due to chronic miasm. And if you are dealing with chronic disease, probably you have to find out what is the fundamental cause or predominant miasm which is causing this particular disease. And then comes in these investigations the ascertainable physical constitution of the patient. He talks about physical constitution, and then he tells us intellectual character, his occupation, mood of living, his habits. His habits is a personal conduct, and social and domestic relation is a social conduct. His age, sexual function, etc., to be taken into consideration. So these are the important ingredients we need to have. And then same time, let us go to Boenninghausen's 7 points which are essential to complete the disease totality. And that includes number one is quiz, the personality of the individual. Who is the person? So personality of the individual comes, and quid tells us what? Disease, its nature and peculiarity. And third point is ubi, where it is, the seat of the disease he talks about. And fourth point is cubus auxilis or concomitant. So we have to give note to the accompanying symptom. That is very important. And fifth is the curve y, cause of the disease. And sixth is the Quamado modalities, aggravation and ameliorating factors, and Quando when it tells about the time modality. So he has summarized in 7 points essentials to unfold the totality of the case. So here what we find the classical format, it includes number one, guidelines given in the aphorism 5, and also that constitutes the information is in every essential case for achieving a cure. So these guidelines is going to be fulfilled in classical format, and same time Boenninghausen's 7 points are also taken up into the consideration, which is essential to complete the totality of the disease picture. So let us see what it constitutes. So first thing is the constitution. It includes quiz personality of the individual, and it also includes the constitution as given in aphorism 5. And the part of the constitution is the soma, means physical characteristics, age, sex, build, and color, or you can say his texture of the skin, etc. will come in that. Then we have the psyche part, temperament, and mind. Second part is the causation, and in causation we go for diathesis, where it corresponds to point 3 of Boenninghausen 7 points UBI, seat of disease. So diathesis is especially in reference to chronic miasm. It is in reference to fundamental cause or chronic miasm which is in the background. And then exciting cause is the second, where in the fifth number of Boenninghausen 7 point tells us cause of disease. Here it is related to the acute disease, and it is must for the knowledge in terms of when you are dealing with acute disease, exciting cause. Now third part is the characteristic symptoms, where point 2 of Boenninghausen tells us that disease, its nature and peculiarity, so they are characteristic physical generals. We have characteristic particular generals and concomitant symptom, which is point 4 cubis auxilis, accompanying symptom or concomitant symptoms are to be taken into consideration. Then comes the relationship of the remedy, which is a similar remedy. What are the remedies are going to antidote, and what are the remedies that are going to follow well. Now then comes the general modalities, and general modalities includes point 6 Quamado modality, aggravation and amelioration, and point 7 Quando, the time modality also included here. So aggravation, and we take amelioration of the remedy. Then we have to construct the predominant miasm, means active miasm at the moment, which is based on the above information, and it infers the active miasm. Then comes the posology, and in posology we have to select the most suitable remedy and potency which suits to the susceptibility of the patient, and it can be an intercurrent miasmatic remedy or a constitutional remedy or a acute, subacute or second prescription. So whatever is the need, you will find out suitable remedy on the information constructed on the above guidelines, and that we call it classical format. So friends, let us go ahead. So general information we are going to deal, which is not given in Allen's keynote. So this general information is important in terms of introduction of the remedy. So remedy profile of pulsatilla is, it is an important polycrest remedy, especially for females and children. As we know, it belongs to plant kingdom and its natural order is ranunculaceae. Please remember other remedies also, because they are similar in terms of their actions. Other remedies will include in the ranunculaceae family, which is also known as buttercup family, and this is Aconite napellus, Actias picata, Simicifuga, Clematis erecta, Helleborus niger, Hydrastis, Ranunculus bulbosus, and Staphysagaria. Now we go to the habitat of the plant, and it is indigenous to Central and Northern Europe. We go to the preparation part and let us have the idea. The mother tincture is prepared from the whole plant, and when it is flowering, higher potencies are prepared from the mother tincture. And the remedy, as we know, is proved by Dr. Honeyman, and its seat of action or affinity, organ tissue affinity, is mind, veins, mucous membrane, tongue, stomach, bowels, female organs, urinary organs, and one side of the body and skin. So the rest of the review is from Allen's keynote predominantly, with certain add-on information here and there which we find the certain gaps are remaining which we could not complete through Allen's keynote, and those essential gaps have been fulfilled or completed through certain authentic information. So first is the constitution. We find soma, and Ellen tells us the woman's remedy: sandy hair, blue eyes, pale face, and the woman is inclined to be fleshy with scanty and protracted menstruation. So this is PQR4 and 1 we have from Allen's keynote, and the sign affinity is not given in Allen's, so we have picked up it from Kent repertory, and it is in the 3 plus, and generalities we find it is predominantly right-sided remedy, and thermal affinity is also not given in Allen's keynote. We completed it from the Kent repertory. This hot feature is in three grades given in generalities. Now we come to the psyche part, and psyche part has got first component, the temperament, and the temperament according to Allen's keynote, he tells us adapted to the persons of indecisive, slow, phlegmatic temperament, and this is PQR1. And mind, will, and emotion we find easily moved to laughter or tears, affectionate, mild, gentle, timid, yielding disposition. It comes from PQR1. And then patient weeps easily, almost impossible to detail her ailments without weeping. And we have here one more remedy, lycopodium, weeps when thanked. We find this comes from the PQR2 in Allen's keynote. Now, in psyche part, mind, will, and emotions, we have again one symptom which is coming from the PQR21 that tells us nervousness intensely felt about the ankle. This is very strange symptom. Entirely, if you go through the remedy, this particular symptom is a very odd symptom. Generally, nervousness, you find a sinking feeling in the epigastrium or somewhere in the chest, but here intensely felt about the ankles. Now, the fear, dark, death, and disaster. This fear component is taken up from Kent repertory, and it is in 2 plus. Dreams, they are anxious and frightful. They are also taken up from Kent repertory, and it is not given in Allen's keynote so far, what I remember. Desire is usually we talk about thirst and thirstless. So, so you find the pulsatilla is a thirstless and desires cold food. Aversion to meat in 3 plus Kent repertory. Milk and tobacco is 2 plus in Kent repertory. The food aggravates. You will find gastric difficulties from eating rich food, cake, pastry, especially after pork or sausages. The sight or even the thought of pork causes disgust or bad taste in the morning. This is PQR 10. Fat, fruit, pastry, and pork is 3 plus in cat repertory. Just recall. Let us go to the causation, and the first part of causation is diathesis, and especially in diseases of women and children. This is the predominant area where pulsatilla has got disease affinity. And elements from we find the first serious impairment of health is referred to pubertic age, have never been well since, and the conditions you will find anemia, chlorosis, bronchitis, phthisis. So puberty acts as an exciting cause here. This particular phase is a stressful situation for female because there is the changes, hormonal changes are taking place and they act as a stressor. Now, elements from patient anemic or chlorotic who has taken much iron, quinine, and tonics even years before, that is PQR 22. Elements from abuse of chamomile, quinine, mercury, tea drinking, and sulfur. This is PQR 23 in Allen's keynote. Now we go to the characteristic general. And in characteristic general, we find secretions from all the mucous membrane are thick, bland, and yellowish green. Similar remedies you will find kali sulf and natural sulf, and this is PQR6 in Allen's keynote. Symptoms ever changing, no two chills, no two stools, no two attacks are alike. Very well 1 hour and very miserable the next. There are apparently contradictory symptoms and similarity you will find with Ignatia. So this is characteristic general PQR7 in Allen's keynote. Now the next important rubric or symptom comes is the pain, and pain he has given in its all components. He deals with the pain. Character of the pain is drawing, tearing, erratic, and then radiation. In radiation, he tells us rapidly shifting from one part to another. And similar remedy is Kalibai, Lacan, magnesium aceticum are accompanied with constant chilliness. So this is concomitant symptom accompanied with constant chilliness. And the most peculiar thing of this concomitant symptom is the more severe the pain, the more severe the chill. And then onset and termination of the pain is also very important. Appears suddenly and leaves gradually. Or tension much increases until very acute and then lets up with a snap on the first motion. So that is PQR 8. The pains are very, very important in its all the components. Now again we go to the characteristic general. We have thirstlessness with nearly all the complaints. It is PQR 9, and mumps metastasis to mama or testis is PQR 12. Let us go to the characteristic particulars now. In characteristic particular, we have in the region of eyes, styes, especially on the upper lid from eating fat, greasy, rich food or pork. And we have to compare here two remedies, lycopodium and sulfur. And this particular symptom is on PQR 17 in Allen's keynote. In the mouth, we find great dryness of mouth in the morning without thirst, great dryness, but nux moschata has moist mouth, intense thirst, and mercury also has got salivation. This comes from PQR 11, and the tooth we find toothache which is relieved by holding cold water in the mouth, similar to bryonia or coffea, worse from warm things and heat of room, and this is coming from the PQR19 from Allen's keynote. Again, we are dealing with characteristic particulars, and here we are going to respiratory symptoms: unable to breathe well or is chilly in warm room. This is PQR20. And in GIT, we find all gone sensation in stomach, especially in tea drinkers. It is PQR13. And diarrhea only or usually at night. This is the time modality, and character is watery, greenish, yellow, very changeable as soon as they eat. Exciting causes eating from fruit, cold food, or drinks, ice cream. Similar remedies here are arsenic, bryonia, and, and other things are given over there, like China has onion, thuja is worse by oysters, bromium lyco is by milk, calcarea, natrum carb, nitric acid, and sulfur by drinking impure water. And we have this symptom from PQR14. Females, from the female component, we find derangement at puberty. All the derangements of menstruation at puberty, menses are suppressed by getting feet wet. Menses are too late, scanty, slimy, painful, irregular, intermittent flow, with evening chilliness, with intense pain and great restlessness and tossing about, and flows mostly during the day, delayed first menstruation. These are the female symptoms we find in PQR 15. And then comes the threatened abortion. Flow ceases and then returns with increased force. Pains are spasmodic, excite suffocation and fainting. Must have fresh air. This is PQR 18. And in the sleep section, we find wide awake in the evening, does not want to go to bed. First sleep is restless, and sound sleep when it is time to get up. Wakes languid, unrefreshed. So this is PQR 16 from Ellen's keynote. Now let us go to the relationship what Ellen has given us. So complementary medicines, we have Calimur, Lycopodium, Silesia, and sulfuric acid. Important information regarding Calimur is it is a chemical analog, and Silesia is chronic of pulsatilla in nearly all the complaints. Follows and is followed by natramur. So all this information comes from Ellen's keynote. So let us supplement it from Gibson Miller, and we find in Gibson Miller complementary remedies. We have Allium cephas, mercurus, and sepia, and we have remedies that follows well: anacardium, antimonium crudum, antimonium tart, arsenic, asafoetida, belladonna, bryonia, calcarea, euphrasia, graphitis, ignatia, calibi, calimur, calisulf, lycopodium, nitric acid, nux vomica, phosphorus, rustox, sepia, silesia, and sulfur. And we have the antidotes, which is asafoetida, chamomilla, coffea, ignatia, nux vomica, and sternum. All this information comes from Relationship of Remedies by Gibson Miller. So this is additional information apart from Ellen's. Now we go to the part 5, general modalities, and here we have aggravation. It is taken up from Ellen's keynote. In a warm closed room, evening twilight on beginning to move, lying on the left or on the painless side, very rich fat indigestible food, pressure on the well side if it be made towards the disease side, and warm application heat. We have emulation. Emulation is in the open air, lying on painful side like bryonia, cold air, cool room, eating or drinking cold things, cold application like Kalimur. Now let us go to the miasmatic orientation, and for miasmatic orientation we have certain markers. So first marker is the females of childbearing age has hormonal changes. There are a lot of fluctuation every month, and during puberty and menopause there is a major influx. So all these kind of changes in the hormone, they create a stage where the patient has got psychotic traits. These particular changes can be taken up as psychotic traits. And from above point of view, we find that pulsatilla is predominantly a psychotic miasmatic remedy, and Sora is in background. So posology. The LN also tells us that the pulsatilla is one of the best remedies with which to begin the treatment of chronic diseases like calcarea and sulfur, and the doses we have from lowest to highest potencies according to K. N. Mathur. Repetition may be repeated frequently in acute diseases, but in constitutional or chronic diseases, higher potencies should be given in single dose. That information is from Dr. K. N. Mathur, and duration of action is about 40 days. It comes from Clark and Gibson Miller. So, friends, the clinical area where this medicine is indicated is anemia with delayed menarche, bronchitis, adverse drug reaction of quinine, iron and tonics, rheumatic fever, mumps when it metastasis to testicles, styes are there, toothache, diarrhea, and threatened abortion, nervousness. So, friends, thank you very much for patient listening.